All right. Welcome to the Purple Kirk podcast. My special guest today. Please welcome to the Purple Kirk podcast, fellow left-handed guitarist, session and touring for Aretha Franklin, Lenny Kravitz, Mariah Carey, TLC, Bobby Brown, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Michael Jackson, Randy Jackson, Randy Watson, the Sexual Chocolate, and both Coming to America movies. The legends of ska and punk, Fishbone, members of Bad Brains. Please welcome, and let me not forget, longtime member of Morris Day and the Times since 1995. Living in the Purple Kingdom, please welcome to the Purple Kirk podcast, Mr. Tory Ruffin. Thank you, Tory. Did I miss anything? I probably did. You've done a million sessions, so.
Yeah. Just a quick, just a note. I either played or did some kind of record. I didn't tour with all those people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Played or did some kind of record with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, session, and.
Or session, yeah, there you go.
And those are the days where you that's where you made your money in the beginning of this whole thing.
Oh yeah, man, it's definitely changed since we've coming up. I mean, I don't know how the kids make it today. There's not much of a budget for anything, but yeah, back in the day, there was always the summer tour gigs, and there was always budgets for recording, and so we got a chance to play on a lot of records, and we got a chance to even produce some records and get paid that way. So,
and you've done a lot of that, producing and arranging for a lot of soundtracks.
Yeah, there's Afroplane. I guess we did some movies there, and I've done a few things, man. I have to.
When you've been doing it not just for a minute, for several minutes, for what, 35, 40 years now?
40 years, man. Yeah.
Is that crazy to just think about how fast time just goes? And then you halt with the pandemic. You probably, if you had to think about it for a minute, you're like, damn, I get to do all that. Yeah. Where did you have time to sleep? Where did you have time to eat?
Well, that's exactly right. It's like during the pandemic, you got a chance to reflect on what you've been doing,
I bet.
and how special it really was, But when you're doing it, you're just trying to pay rent and keep food on the table. And I had a son at the time, so you're not really thinking, "Wow, this is cool. I'm playing with such a blah blah blah." You're thinking, "Man, I can't wait to this gig. I'm enjoying this gig, but I'm really waiting on this check. This check is gonna be, nice. I can make it to the next month." That's what you're thinking as a hustling musician in LA.
People, it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns. And even if you're a well-known artist, example, you played for TLC, and Prince brought this up way back in the day when Crazy Sexy Cool came out. They weren't making that many cents on the dollar. I mean, you had all these songwriters and producers, Dallas Austin and all these folks on there. They weren't making cents on the dollar back then.
Right.
When you sign when you sign your name on the dotted line and you don't look at the fine print.
But that's a recent. I wasn't there back in the day. Just to clarify,
Got it.
That was a recent gig we did in LA.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, maybe 5 years ago or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Ago, yeah. So I wasn't in the heyday.
Yeah.
But, But anyway, yeah.
No, got you. But just as an example,
yeah, man, artists don't make, but yeah, when you're making 3-5 cents on the record, and and then you didn't write any of those stuff, that's tough too. So you're making most of your money on touring and stuff.
Right. Well, and now, especially here we are, 2020, 2021. May I mention behind me on the screen here, and there's a artist rendition of you right here. Your new joint that just came out in November, Freak Juice and Friends, they call us Juice,
now, I'm sorry, on this podcast, can people actually see what we're doing, or
I'm recording this and they're going to see it later.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, we're not doing a live thing like Funkatopia. I know you got to do live comments and all that, but yeah, I'm doing this straight up. So in case there's anything I need to edit or, the sound, I need to tweak it a little bit. I can go
okay.
back and do it. Yeah.
Not to cut
I
you
like,
off. Okay,
this
go
is
ahead.
like 1981 MTV, two screen,
Love it. Love it.
very old school. But you
Yeah.
got this new album out
Yes.
that you had been working on for a lot of, I'd say 5 years or more.
Yeah.
A lot
yeah,
of some of
sure.
the tracks on it.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you had, some of the tracks on here, we could play. I had a chance to listen to the album several times. I bought it. You can buy this from Horton Records. Horton Records out in your home right now, Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're a
Free.
nonprofit record company, which means you can take more of the profit from this. They're not making any money off this.
Right.
They're
Yeah.
helping offset some costs, for like
recording.
artwork and promotion and recording, right? So that's awesome.
And you can get it at freakjuice.bandcamp.com or Horton Records. If you want to check out other Horton Records artists, you can go Horton Records bandcamp.com
Yeah.
to see their other roster. But if you want to just go ahead and get it directly to Freak Juice, you can go freakjuice.bandcamp.com. Even if you download one song, guys, it really helps, man.
One.
You'd be surprised.
Listen, people have spent more. Listen, just take some of the liquor money and just spend $10 and get the damn album. Okay. I'm just going to put that out there. Look,
99 cents. We get 10,000 people with 99 cents. That's a start.
look, it's a great album. And honestly, I sent you a couple Facebook messages when I feedback and about it, like the opening track Better. I was like, hear this little square wave synth thing. Was that your guitar synth?
No, that was actually I do have some guitar synth in there.
Which on
Hole in the Wall, which I just came across on the accident. But that's Ryan Tedder, who's a wonderful saxophonist out of Chicago. He used to live here in Tulsa.
Okay.
He's now in Chicago, and he's official juice maker, man. He's a wonderful musician, plays great keyboards and sax. So when I can get him out touring, he'll definitely be part of the
fantastic
family. Yeah.
But you had that intro to the song, and then all of a sudden, is that drop D or drop C sharp? What is that?
Sharp, yeah.
Sorry, perfect pitch.
That's great, man. Really good.
Listen, it's a blessing and a curse. It doesn't mean I always get the right notes either. Believe me, those blue notes do happen. But it was great because it was grungy, funky. It had. I thought of so many different vibes when I heard it, and I almost got a Seattle vibe from it. But then there's the funky parts about it. Hypocrite. Oh, Hypocrite. All that's been going on in the last, the last 5 years. He who shall not be named. I say the Voldemort of politics.
It's
You really. I'm sure the lyrics were probably adjusted along the way, but you've got stuff that hits all the social issue buttons. That one, Rise, Hands to the Sky, which there was a live clip. If you go out there, you can find it, folks. Just stunning. And the intro to it, all the social justice aspects of this album. You got a nice mix of social justice and then fun tracks. But you do keep the album relevant. It's definitely of the 2020s.
And that's what's so weird about it, because Hands to the Sky was written way before it's George Floyd, and that's sad, actually. That I've always been inspired by artists like Marvin Gaye. You enjoyed their records, but they did have something to say. Ice Cube in the early days,
right?
Of course, Fishbone. But I've always gravitated towards artists that spoke on the times, and we're all sensitive, and it has been crazy times. This president, lifted up an ugly wound and perpetuated these racist and rants and as an artist, you're affected by that, and so
how can you not be?
How can you not write about it? And just sweep it under the rug and hope that you don't offend anybody by saying what you're saying, and Hands to the Sky, like I said, was written in response to my man that, and he escapes my name, that couldn't breathe
George Floyd.
early on.
Oh, no. The guy with the cigarettes in New York. I
Cigarettes,
know.
man, and I can't. That's terrible. I can't. But anyway,
I'm
I
there
was
with you.
like, and then some other incidents were happening. And I was like, this is.
Yeah.
And then when the record came out, George Floyd happened. So everybody
Yeah.
just assumed. But I had written that like, and like I said, that's sad that it's still relevant. I'm hoping, but I'm hopeful. I always try and leave a hopeful.
Yep.
A light at the end of the tunnel,
You do.
But we got to,
do.
you got to speak on it so and not sweep it under, so things will get better. And I believe it. They eventually, all the ugliness will eventually be pushed out, because as we see, the majority of the people in this country are good people,
Yes.
and want to see everybody on the same footing and given an equal opportunity.
Absolutely.
Majority of the people are in tune with love and light in this country, and and we're always going to have a segment that is going to fight that, but hopefully that just gets smaller and smaller and smaller, to where I can just go back to singing about dragons and fairies and lights and love and
Ronnie James Dio with a funk twist. There you go. I can handle that.
Just good times, party, make girls and weed. I can just go back and think about girls and weed. I'll be happy.
We'll talk off the air about that. Speaking of which,
well, weed is legal now, so you don't have to.
Not where I'm not. Well, they've decriminalized it here in the Philly area, but we're getting there. It'd be like all fit, same-sex marriage and weed. If we could just, if we can get all 50 states on board, boy, I tell you what.
I don't know how you could tell somebody who the fuck,
Okay, so when I had my last guest on here, is Uncle Bean, and I'm like, just when I thought somebody was going to keep it, just when I thought somebody couldn't keep it more 100 than him, because you guys, being in the time together, and how he keeps it real.
Keep it 100, man, like you said.
Absolutely.
But this is a podcast. It's not like we're on regular television, so.
Listen, and believe me, when I put this up on YouTube, this is going to be suitable for mature audiences. I mean, I'm 50 and over here, so I'll tell you, we're at this point, the don't give a shit meter. Just go. I give a shit about the things that really matter, like equality, social justice. Financial equality,
absolutely,
financial opportunity. Absolutely. So, but. I'm going to change the subject, because we're going to try to put that love and light back into the conversation, because we desperately need that. I want to talk a little bit about Pimp Bus. I don't want to necessarily play the whole thing, but man, who the hell did the talk box on that?
Man, that's my man, Adrian Robbins, from Oklahoma. Brilliant musician. Just funky keyboard player, man. He killed
dude. I'm telling you, I got the Roger Troutman vibes. I was like, yeah. I mean, because I was a Zapp fan. God, more bounce to the ounce, the 10-minute version, not the one they played on the radio.
That's right.
When that came out, Jesus, and I never got to see Roger. That's one artist of the many, I didn't get to see.
In LA, man, we had a promoter, and this was before I was in the time, man. I used to go. He used to play the Roxy, Roger, and. As a kid, man, I used to go see the show all the time, because we knew the promoter, Mac McCain.
Okay.
And man, Roger, like the time, did pretty much the same show, but it just, each time it just killed so hard. It just killed. It's like I couldn't get enough of it. And he's a great guitar player. People don't know he can play some guitar, man.
He plays on more bounce to yes, that ding ding.
Yeah. And he's got some nice kind of jazzy solo chops going on. Like if you
right,
things, he's no joke. He was no joke, man. And so years later, some of the band members recognized me from being a kid in the shows when I got the Time gig, man. So it was kind of I got to hang out with my some of my heroes.
Well, you think Dayton, Ohio, you got the Ohio players that come from there. Roger and his, unfortunate with him and his brother, but just the stuff. Can we listen to a little Pimp Bus, give people a little sliver
Hey,
of the
give it to
freak
them, man.
juice?
Let's give it to them.
Coming right up. There's nice jazzy chords in there too.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. All right, download this right now, people. Horton Records. Freak Juice. Bandcamp.com, HortonRecords.bandcamp.com if you want to see Freak Juice and other artists. All right, I'm not going to play the whole thing because we want people to buy this. We want to stream. We don't want streaming. We want buying.
Well, that's when you picked up on the jazz chords. That's, I think, what kind of puts Freak Juice in their own thing is the heaviness.
Yeah.
But then there's some jazz harmony that's being interjected through the whole CD, even on the heavy tunes. And I think that's what sets us apart from just a lot of the rock bands out there.
Let's look at you name a rock band, John Bonham and Zeppelin. Okay. I mean, I'm a Zeppelin. I know you are too.
Yeah.
And, you couldn't do what John Bonham did in Led Zeppelin unless you had a jazz swing. If his foot on that bass pedal, that swing, the trip. I mean, Dave Garibaldi, Morris Day can play like that too. Yeah. Because Morris had a sense of rhythm, and then becomes the front man for the time.
Right.
Jesse, whom you replaced in the time, everybody had some kind of sensibility about jazz, and the best rock musicians, the best Ginger Baker and Cream. We could go on and on to connect the dots here. Okay. Yeah. Ginger Baker's one of the best rock drummers because he wasn't a rock drummer primarily. He had the jazz swing. He had the swing. It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing as the song goes. And that's the secret sauce when people talk about, well, why is this rock band, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I like Metallica. I like some of these hard rock. I mean, my first concert was Judas Priest. Okay. In 1984. But even the guy who played for them at the time, Dave Holland, who was with Glenn Hughes, funk rock bassist and singer and trapeze, they had the 2 and the 4 still had some kind of swing to it. I don't care how much that's right. It's kind of right, has that swing. And like Led Zeppelin, but their harmonies, like when he opened up a solo, it was more on the blues based, and a lot of rock bands have done that. And that's when I think when we talk about Freak Juice, when we open up, we're playing more of the Miles Davis type harmony, and we're putting in some altered chords, and and then you'll see that my solos they have chromaticism in it, and nothing wrong with that.
Almost bebop line like things to it. It's
so
what I'm exploring is what I think is what separates Freak Juice from most of the rock bands out there. I love bands like the Foo Fighters and
I'm just listening to Dave Grohl yesterday. Absolutely.
But every time I hear those sections, I just hear like you said, like but I just hear Miles Davis over that stuff. So that's what I try to do.
You had me at Miles Davis. Listen, whether it be Bitches Brew or Sketches of Spain, Bitches Brew is the one that's the game changer. I love his early stuff, kind of blue and all that, but
Because what's weird for me is like I love all that stuff, but I had to go back to that stuff because when I fell in love with Miles Davis was my dad was listening to the stuff, but when I saw him at the Hollywood Bowl, man, when I was 17 with Schofield and Stern.
Get out.
And Marcus Miller, that type stuff. And then, I was a rock fan, I was a big Led Zeppelin fan. And man, they lost into, Mike Stone and Schofield were playing these rock licks, but then they started playing this other stuff. I was like, what the? Somebody said, man, that's bebop. If you want to learn that, you got to learn some bebop. And that just exploded my mind. It's like, that's what made me, think about the concept of the juice, is just trying to interject that kind of stuff into a commercial,
Right.
with songs. So that's been my Frankenstein. That's kind of I've been trying to get across to people.
Nothing wrong with that. Which made you, because you have this diverse, and diversity is everything as a musician, especially for you having been a session musician of more than one recording session and more than one studio. Flexibility is key. Oh yeah, you want this kind of feel? Okay, I can give you a little bit of that. Oh, you want that kind of feel? So let me go back to the very beginning. So you're born and raised in LA?
Well,
Detroit, I thought.
I was born in Chicago, then we moved to Detroit right away. My formative years were in Detroit. And then, let's say your formative years, K through 7 or 8,
Sure.
So, in other words, I moved to LA in the 7th grade. And my formative years, I think, were in Detroit. I went to Jesu and then elementary school, and then I did my high school and my professional career for 30 years in Detroit. I mean, in Los Angeles. Yeah. But just to make, a lot of times you'll hear LA, but that's because that's where all my musical, professional musical thing. But I tell people this all the time. When I was a kid, my grandfather bought me a Gibson, and we would be in the basement in Detroit trying to play Isley Brothers, Led Zeppelin, and Rush, and Jimi Hendrix, and those like 4 bands. But like we were playing a lot of Isley Brothers, of course some James, but Rush was right across the border
in Canada, right?
So these were all Black musicians, by the way. See, and this is when radio had everybody on the radio. This is when you heard Elton John and Stevie Wonder on the same radio,
same damn station.
You remember that?
Of course.
Do you? Okay, I'm not crazy then.
No,
because I went back and I was like, man, I didn't dream this, right? We were kids playing Rush, and my buddy, you're like, oh yeah, you guys were in there.
Rock stations had their own flexibility because they didn't have, Tori, they didn't have things like today's radio. And a member of my family's fiance works for iHeartRadio, so I'm not going to try to sit here and bash them because he's got a job, he's putting bills, paying the bills.
No, they got a certain format; they can't branch out.
But when you're being force fed certain artists over and over and over again, I mean, how do I put this? Because I taught in an urban school outside in Philadelphia for a little bit until that'll be an off the record conversation. But when you have this force-fed stuff and music education programs, I was a music educator for 13 years. When you see music education programs being eviscerated and the quality, the learning of music is very narrow.
Right.
Nothing against trap beats and the synth bass line. I like, when it's done creatively, like, Travis Scott, when it's done creatively, I can dig it.
Right.
But when all I hear, like WAP, a 15-year-old could have done a lot better job musically on their laptop and put that shit up on SoundCloud. Aside from bringing the strip club to the Grammys, the shit was lazy. The shit was lazy when it came musically.
That was something else with it.
And then it's fine. And I get it. Look, I'm not going to.
No. I mean, I was. I guess we sound like some old timers. Like, good. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I mean, because we came up at a time where, that was just inconceivable what we saw on national television. Like,
I mean, it's like if Prince had done Sugar Walls on the Grammy Awards with Sheena Easton.
Yeah, when Prince showed his butt on the Grammys,
that was MTV Awards in 1991. Get Off. Oh, which was great, but hey, right. But that was considered over the top. Now you got WAP.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing left of the. I mean, to me, it's like Two Live Crew 30 some years ago, and I lived in South Florida at that time when Pop That
Yeah.
Coochie, the PG version of that. Well, I guess I don't have a PG audience. Pop That Pussy.
I wasn't the only one that went, oh my goodness.
No.
Over
No.
the top. I was like,
I don't be an old fart. I'm okay when it gets sexual. I just find that, you know, because of things like iHeartRadio and stuff that filters into
and
just
all,
down to the
and
bare
all the
bones.
all the young little girls watching that, I'm like, and that's what they're gonna be looking up to, really.
And I taught
That's
third and
what
fourth
I
grade.
was thinking. I'm like, you ain't leaving the little kids no hope.
They know all the words too. Let me tell you.
Michelle, it's like on the spectrum, you got Cortez and Michelle Obama. Oh, you got that. Where's the middle ground? It's crazy, man. Crazy stuff where, you know.
So now let me get this. Your connect the dots here. Born in Chi-Town, right? Born in Chicago.
70, Cook County.
What year? Oh yeah, Cook County.
Cook County. My grandmother lived on 79th, Princeton South Side, and then we quickly moved to. I mean, I'm sure I don't even know if we lived there. I might have just been born there. I might have been born visiting my grandmother, and then we moved to Detroit, and then
some major music cities. You've hit them all. You know, like I believe Jelly Bean also was originally born in Chicago, and his mom moved him the man because she didn't want him the gangs were starting to call, knock on the door at the home. That's what he told me when I had him on. So you guys have his.
I got a similar story. I was rolling around in stolen cars and getting shot at. My mom caught, and they separated. My dad was a bus driver that had through affirmative action, rose to the top of Xerox, vice president of marketing of the United States he was one of the first black CEOs, presidents in the
wow.
And so then he moved us out to California under the same roof as his current wife with my mom. So you can imagine that. And so little nuggets you might not know, but I'm thankful to him. I recently lost him, but I'm thankful for him because without that, doing something like that, who knows what there might not be no freak juice just looking at you today. And so I'm so thankful for that opportunity just to be taken out of that environment and shown another way of living, because if you're just as a young boy, I can testify to, I guess we're going back to social issues.
That's okay. Listen,
as a young boy, I can testify. All you know is people shooting and everybody's doing. Now, some people are able to rise above that too, but 9 times out of 10, you're not going to rise above that because that's all that's all you see and that's all you know. But if you go to another neighborhood and people are doctors and lawyers and doing business and there's opportunities, there's sports, there's all this opportunity, and then 9 times out of 10, you're going to do right. You see what I'm saying? It's just that simple. Nobody comes out wanting to shoot or kill anybody, or rob or steal. It's almost. You are your environment.
You are your environment.
You are your environment, and
and
we need to change that because I'm a living prime example of what could happen if you're given another opportunity. Now, not everybody's going to take it, but 9 times out of 10, I think they will. I don't know, that's a statistic I made up, 9 times out of 10.
And you know what? That's okay. Listen, we're okay with that. We're okay with that. At the end of the day, it's truth.
Yeah.
Now, let me go back to one other thing. So you're influenced for wanting to play guitar. Is your grandfather? What was the thing that was like, man, this is what I have to do for my life? Music's got to be what was the moment?
Early on, like I said, in Detroit, I was playing it, but I was playing ball. I was still a kid. I knew about 3 chords. And then I tell you, when I moved to California, I was playing a little basketball, but then I still had a love for music or a liking for music. And then
Okay.
I was in a music store, and a buddy of mine, I didn't know that I met a lifelong buddy. And I was in Palos Verdes. I don't know if that's an exclusive part of California. And they lived in Inglewood in the hood.
Okay.
And I met this guy. He played drums, so I would go down and play. So I would ride my little mini bike or Honda down to the hood. And then one day, they had these battles of the bands. The radio stations had battles of the band.
Oh, remember.
And I saw a band that was really good. And this is my a longtime childhood buddy. His name is Bruce Sterling, who is actually a member of Sexual Chocolate. But this is how I met the guys. I said, "Oh, they don't have a guitar player." So I went and found them. To make a long story short, auditioned for the band. And I had a van, so they let me in. I couldn't play worth nothing, but anyway, this is the defining moment. We were at Washington High School. The kids were let in for recess. We were hired to play a gig, and when we hit the stage, the kids just started screaming like we were like the Beatles or something. They were just happy.
Oh, man.
It was crazy. I was just like, I had this. Oh my God, this is awesome. I want to do this. And
right.
and that was my defining moment. I was like, okay, and shortly after that, I think I dropped out of the basketball team and just started trying to really practice and hone my craft as a musician. I mean, that was
Wow.
the Washington High. I can remember it like it's yesterday. It was like, man, they were screaming, and quite frankly, or ironically, the same feeling I had then was the same feeling I had when we played with Prince in Atlanta.
Right.
Nobody knew we were there. The clock went off, and the whole arena just said, I mean, it was like, oh my God, this is that feeling I had. And I thought,
was that the musicology tour? Was that the
musicology tour? Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It was like deafening, I was like,
right.
This is what it must have felt like back in the 80s when they hit the stage. And then I thought to myself,
in Detroit. When Jelly Bean talks about the first time they opened up for Prince on the 1999 tour, and might have been, but 40,000 people, I think he said, and he says, we were just like, oh my God, I better be good, I better not suck.
And I also thought to myself, Prince hears this every night. How does anybody stay sane hearing this type of adulation every night? You can't. There's no way you can stay sane.
You don't.
And then you go, oh man, it's a drug. It's like it's better than anything.
It is endorphins and all those endorphins and adrenaline, man.
Oh man, it was something else.
Well, I'll tell you, to make a personal connection, the first time I saw you with Morris Day during the time was on April 29th, 2016 in Charleston, West Virginia at that casino, the Hollywood Casino up there. And that was a week after Prince had passed. Literally a week to that day, I think that Friday or whatever. And you all had the opening of the show had like a montage and opening, to Prince and all that. I don't like to be bummer here, but how was it playing that first gig? Because that was the first gig after he had passed.
That was emotional.
That could have been easily a gig that nobody would have. I bought the tickets months in advance. That could have been a gig that could have easily been canceled, and nobody would have been saying, "Oh, they did that."
Yeah. No. It was being around him, and when you're coming up, like I said, coming up around artists and being around him. You kind of take certain things for granted, and you get caught up in the little things. Maybe get caught up in some of the band's drama, but one thing I realized is that when he passed, is like I didn't realize. I went back and listened how much influence he had on me as a musician. Like if you listen to any of my records, like the rhythm part is all Minneapolis. Like even even anytime I'm playing some funk, you can hear, oh, that's Minneapolis, you know.
You got that hot rodded amp that has that clean channel. I heard you plunking away on the Schecter Telly model that you got with those jumbo frets, and you know how to keep that in the pocket. Believe me, I know.
Yeah. I mean, and that's Prince, James Brown, but Prince got it from James Brown, and I got it from Prince because when we were coming up, if you know Prince, you know, it was Jimi Hendrix, and then there was Prince at the time. You didn't have any really black guitarists on the MTV besides Prince, and so if you were R&B musician in the '80s, you copied the time and the Prince, and you knew that style. You know, you tight, funky pocket. And that's what you played if you were if you're going to do any sessions or make any money.
Right. It was disciplined. The big factor that funk is such a discipline. Yeah, it's got its moments where you stretch a little bit here and there, but it's tight. Like when he went from James, it's tight. It's disciplined. It's on.
It's consistent, and you ain't playing a bunch of other stuff. I mean, you know, Prince. I mentioned the freeze, like, why are you playing on them bass notes? That ain't on the record, or something like that. He freezes.
Sure.
But
when you know your own,
he wanted exactly right like it, and he wanted it tight. You know, now he would do some other stuff, but if you were around him, you better play what's on the record, and you better play exactly like that. Now, but he would always embellish and stuff,
because he already knew the foundation. He wrote the foundation. He wanted to make sure you knew the foundation, because if you knew it, then he might give you a little nudge or whatever, or hanky or whatever, and say, okay, go ahead and show me what you got.
Yeah.
Because once he understands, and then you hear this from all the musicians, all the interviews you ever hear, if you didn't know the foundations and the roots, he wasn't impressed.
Right.
Next, you wouldn't be allowed to improvise unless he asked you to.
Right.
Or if you're auditioning for the time, let's get to that actually, if we could, if you don't mind.
Sure.
How did you get actually, I will, even before that, how did you get the gig for Sexual Chocolate? And then, 1988, when the movie was made, Coming to America, Eddie Murphy, and the new sequel, you're in both movies. And I love the hair that you have in the first movie. Man, I had 80s hair too. Believe me, I know.
I contemplated about doing it again, but we didn't have enough warning. We didn't think we were going to be in the second sequel. But how this came about, I mentioned my dad was an entrepreneur.
Right.
I spent some time in Austin, Texas, because I was hanging out in North Texas. My dad had a shop in South Dallas with computer stores. And then I was playing some music in Austin, Texas, cover bands. And here's a crazy story. Morris Hayes was in a Prince type cover band, and I was in like the time
Mr. Hayes himself. I've seen him with the NPG. Yeah, he's a great guy.
He was in this band called Fingerprint. I was in this band called Trick Tracks. And so I did that for a couple of years, and I was like, I'm over it. I don't want to play covers the rest of my damn life.
I understand.
And I took off to LA and hooked back up with my buddies, Bruce Sterling, Jeffrey Suttles, Melvin Davis, and Carl Denson, who all play like with Carl's with the Rolling Stones, Melvin Davis, Shaka Khan, Lee Ritenour, Bruce put together, we had it now. Bruce Sterling. Now, this is how we got, so with Sexual Chocolate, Jeffrey, the drummer, had our little fusion band playing around LA. Jeffrey was driving around John Landis, the director, and John simply asked him, hey man, you know of a band that you could send me to put in my upcoming movie with Eddie Murphy. Jeffrey goes, yeah, I have a band. He says, great, bring them in. The next thing we know, we're in an iconic movie. It was really happened just out of luck, that simple, nothing magical about it. It was just right place, right time. And
what do they say about that kind of thing? Luck is when opportunity meets preparation.
Right.
And you had that in space. You had that abundance of that. So
so funny thing is, like, we learned the tune cold, and once we got in there, they were like, first 4 bars like, cut, halt. I need you guys to sound like the worst lounge act in America. Miss some notes, put some air in that horn, and sound terrible. We're not trying to do it right here, fellas. And
Yeah.
like and the next thing we know, we're in the comedy hit comedy band, I guess the most famous comedy band in 30 years.
I'm going to tell you right now, and now, come on now. I mean, listen, when the sequel came out, and I saw you. Oh, let me ask one thing before I forget. It's my ADHD here. Were you playing a Charvel Jackson in the first movie? What was that guitar you played?
Kramer was a Kramer that never stayed in.
Was that a Focus 3000?
You might have been. Sounds right.
Because I got a Lefty Kramer, what's white and black, but I got a Kramer as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
That thing was horrible.
You're the only thing worth on it, probably yours too, is the Lefty Floyd Rose. That's probably the only thing worth on the guitar.
Oh man, I don't even have. I wish I had it though. I definitely would put it, but
hold on, let me show you something. Let me show you. Hopefully I won't.
Yeah.
I have to do this because it's not every day I get a lefty guitarist in the house here.
Nice.
So I have my own sexual chocolate right here. So there's the Kramer. And there's that Lefty Floyd Rose. It's hard to see, but there it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, there it is.
It keeps on going in and out. So let I see the headstock. Let me see the headstock.
These a maple neck.
You'll see it when you try and the revert, turn around. Let me see where it says Kramer.
Oh, yeah.
No, the other way. Turn it the other way. The headstock. Does it say Kramer?
Oh, yeah, sure. Focus 3000.
Oh, no, that wasn't mine.
Okay.
I had, it said Kramer.
Oh, yeah, okay. So late 80s Kramer. I got it. This was an 84. So, yeah, showing my age. I just had to show you that because I was like, what? You had a Kramer too? So that was a Kramer. Well, shit, I would have lost a bet if I had bet on that one. I don't want to say, whoop, hold on one second. I just unplugged myself. We're experiencing technical difficulties. Please stand by. This is what you get for dealing with an amateur. What can I tell you, Tori? There we go. Okay. All right. What can I say? Hey, I'm going to keep it in there too. I like to keep it raw. So you get into this movie, and I understand that whole sexual chocolate scene took 4 days to film.
Damn, did it say 4? Now it's gotten to 4 days. No, that's like folklore. It's getting longer.
Okay, so can you give us the real on that? Because I've seen
weeks. No, it only took 2.5. It took 2 days because Eddie was clowning, riffing, and calling us up. It was like stand up and everybody couldn't keep a straight face. Like we were just and he was like, cut, go again, cut. All right, take a break. Come on back, cut. Eddie would be standing up, and he riffed the name Sexual Chocolate. So
he kept coming up with a different name. Do you remember any of the other names that he came up with, or this is
Clark Bar on guitar, the way he delivered it, That Snickers. It was I can't even do
between him and Arsenio, because Arsenio I'm sure was clowning too. I mean, all of them,
man, and they were going back and forth riffing, man. It was. I hope one day, I mean, that comes out like as some bloopers, man.
Oh my God. It's not on the DVD. You know what they're going to do? Well, I don't even know if they're going to do this because everything's streaming now. Like when we talk about music, the new Coming to America sequel that you're also in, and you get to do We Are Family at the very end of the movie. That movie, I have to say, as a fan of the first film, it was like a 30-year high school reunion where you still get some of the laughs, but there's a wistfulness and a touching, there's a reminiscing about the first film.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't have Madge Sinclair in there as the mother, the Queen Mother, and
what happened to her?
She passed away. Oh God, she passed away many years ago. 95, actually around the time you would have joined the time, around December of 95. I looked it up today. So, because she was so regal in that movie, and there's a nice time, but you had John Amos in there. You guys, most of the original people that were in the first Sexual Chocolate.
Yeah, everybody was there except for Melvin Davis, the bass player. He was on, like I said, he's world class, famous,
right,
awesome musician. So he was in Japan with Lee Ritenour. About
Oh
Lee
my,
Ritenour,
Lee
you know.
Ritenour. People look up Lee Ritenour. You want to talk about, oh man, talk
Uh-huh.
about rewriting the guitar.
Yeah,
Jeez.
a jazz icon, Lee Ritenour.
Oh yeah, absolutely. His finger picking style alone.
Yeah.
Oh, we could geek. Man, I could geek after you for 4 or 5 hours, but I don't want to take too
Yeah.
much of your time. But
I always say,
so
hang out.
you are an entrepreneur yourself because I shortly before the pandemic, you opened up in Tulsa when you moved to Tulsa because your buddy Charlie, right?
Mhm.
That you knew back in your days playing in Austin said, hey man, you got to come to Tulsa and live in Tulsa, right? Or
And before you, and like you said, let's keep in line with that story because
please.
after Sexual Chocolate, you asked me how I got into the Times. So this
Oh,
leads to,
sorry. Thank you.
and we'll get to
Please
the
keep
bar.
me in line, folks. Everybody who knows me on this thing knows that.
That's all right. No, I don't want you to be mad.
Thank you so much.
I don't want
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tori.
So so after that, then Arsenio Hall came on with his television show, and my buddy Bruce has really got a knack. You know these people, Gift the Gab, can get in there and talk to people, and he's really got a knack for that. So he started. He noticed that back in the day, every R&B act or any act that came on Arsenio needed a band. He was like, listen, he went to the record companies and the Arsenio's and he said, listen, I know all the musicians town. I know all the best musicians town. We will put together the bands for you and charge, and so you're not having to look up because he noticed we did a few of them and he noticed that all the management were always looking for musicians. He said, look, I'll start, you come to me. And so he and I, we put together all the bands, and this is how I kind of got a chance to play with everybody because we either put together the bands or we MD'd the band. So everybody that came through there, we pretty much about 80% of the bands we either played with or put them together.
Wow.
So and actually when Morris we were also doing Jay Leno and Pat Sajak and any other late night shows that were on the West Coast. So when Morris did Jay Leno, as I said, I mentioned we were playing the time music in cover bands back in Austin with Morris Hayes as we battling against him, seeing who was the better.
Wow.
And so when Morris came, I was like, well, I got to play with Morris Day. And then so we did that. We did a New Year's Eve show. We did that, and then about a year and a half later, I was going up the road with Freak Juice, and the guys I had in my band, Satnam, Ron Gatra, and Jai Dillon, they had never heard of the time. And actually, Satnam's he's a wonderful drummer. He does all the stuff with Hans Zimmerman now for Game of Thrones. So he's the original drummer for Freak Juice. So if you want to go back and hear that earlier catalog, you got the drummer that does all the Hans Zimmerman stuff, all the movie stuff, and scoring, Don Hercutt on my record. Anyway, so we're going up to San Francisco to do gigs, and this is when we had CD players popped in. So he was like, I remember the time. Yeah, I ain't heard the time. So we listened to that Pandemonium record all the way up there and all the way back. I got home, and I swear to you, this is not Morris Day was on my answer machine talking about, hey, brother, you want to come down and I'm looking for a guitar player. I would love for you to come down and audition or play in the band or something. And I mean, it was so surreal because we were listening to it all the way up there, listening to it all the way back. And I come home and he was on my ass machine asking if I wanted to be in the band, basically.
Isn't it funny how things work out like that? A little serendipity.
It's crazy. Think about that. Is that serendipitous or whatever?
Look, because Prince, except for a couple tracks on Pandemonium, and of course, when the original 7 got back for Condensate, Prince wrote a majority of those songs, as we know.
Yeah, he wrote all.
Right.
Yeah. Jungle Love. I think Jesse wrote that.
Yeah, Jesse wrote Jungle Love. At least the guitar solo on that, and maybe the Bird too. Maybe the Bird.
No,
maybe.
he didn't do the Bird. No, that was
okay. That's right. Did Prince have to give you a seal of approval, or was that up to Morris? I mean, it's like, hey,
Morris-
he didn't have to check in and say, hey, look, I got this new cat, Jesse can't play.
But look, we were in Chicago, and it was, I think, the first time I met Prince. He had heard about us being out
Okay.
there. You know, Prince don't miss a beat. You know,
Of course he
had
doesn't.
heard about it. And so he flew. And he flew in, and it was 30 below. It was one of the coldest nights in Chicago. He comes in there with a midriff, the halter top on, at the Park West, and was watching this show, and it came back, and he said, bad man, gave me love, bad man, and
Cool.
so and did so several times. We were on musicology, so yeah, had he didn't like, I would have known about it, like,
Right.
he would have told Morris, you need to do something else, but he gave me his seal of approval many times through the course over the years. Here's how he would do it, he wouldn't actually come up with it, but he would let you know.
Listen, that's all right.
Yeah.
You did what, at least I'm sure you did what was on the record. I know that on tracks
he
like
he loved the band. He took chance from Morris, so
yes,
he
he
loved
did.
it. He knew. I think Prince was all about people that like, he loved Morris, so he
They're brothers.
I
right?
think so I think if Morris was happy and he saw that people were supporting Morris, I think that made him happy as well.
Right. Okay.
Not that the other guys weren't or anything, but he saw how well he saw the B band, or me, Jellybean, Monty, Freeze, and Freeze are really close, and I think he saw that. Like, he saw the camaraderie in us, and he saw how we supported Morris. This is just me riffing and talking.
Okay. Well, but you're in the band. You should know, right?
Yeah,
Listen.
I think he respected Morris's decision on all of us, and was happy that it was what it was, because with the like an original family, you're always going to have different dynamics and drama
Absolutely.
that a new family might not have.
Right.
So, anyway.
But I mean, I don't always want to ask people that I have on here questions that they've heard hundreds of millions of times before, because, but you can't avoid the fact that Prince is a major factor for why you're going to have a sustained career. And many of the people who've, I mean, Prince was a one-man Motown. He was both the producer, arranger, CEO,
Right.
he was, he's his own, like Motown, it's its own genre, really.
Right.
When we say the Motown sound, the Minneapolis sound was defined by him. And like it or not, that is going to be a defining, moment for a lot of people. But you got your own stuff though, which you're going to have.
But his sound is in there as well. I mean, I can't get away from it. It's part of like James Brown was a part of his sound, but he made it his own. So, you know what I mean? So I feel like the Minneapolis is in there, but I'm trying to make it my own as well.
This would be a perfect segue, because you do have a new album out. We want to make sure we're behind me right here. I told you I'm gonna plug the hell out of this. On my Facebook page, I've been plugging it. Look, these days it's a grassroots thing. If you get at least, I don't get maybe the hits that Michael Dean might get, or Eloy LaSanta and Prince's Friend, but it's all about getting the exposure out there. And that's what we're trying to do, because you guys are talented. You're putting great stuff out. It's worth listening to. People need to buy this stuff. Don't stream, folks. Don't stream it, and then buy it.
Yeah. Look, guys, if you love live music and you're sympathetic to the plight of a lot of musicians. I don't want to give you that Sarah McLachlan speech just 99 cents for a dog.
In the arms of... Okay, yeah, got it.
Yeah, let's get to Sarah McLachlan. We need some Sarah. I want you to edit some Sarah McLachlan music in this.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm surprised you haven't played with. I'm surprised you haven't played for her. So I mean, you played for so many people. I'm surprised.
But hey, Kurt Mascara, who is on the record, has his guy play for Sarah McLachlan.
You got these connect. You're the Kevin Bacon of your own world, man. You're the funky Kevin Bacon of your own world. But see, that's the thing when you play. When you've played for Mariah Carey, when you've played for Aretha Franklin, or recorded for this person or that, the world gets smaller.
Yeah, it does.
You've toured the world. You've played all over.
Now, cue the Sarah McLachlan music. Let me just finish this.
No, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to cue. I'm going to cue
99 cents. If you like any of the songs, even you can think of it as a donation, download 99 cents. Tell your friend to download 99 cents. If you can buy the whole record, great. But if you can buy one song, that actually helps too. And if you can spread the word, hey, you gotta check this out, help these guys out.
Right.
Really, because touring is non-existent right now. It's starting to open up, but we really could use your support. So there it is.
And here we go. Buy this, people. This is Cookies and Cream.
Oh yeah, if you're a Prince fan, we got some. I did a couple of.
Well, wait a minute.
Tribute things to him. Learn It From You and Cookies and Cream is.
It's not just Prince on there though. There's the cameo. She's like candy. I mean, that didn't go over my head.
Yeah.
I mean, and the little
Johnny Singleton. We got who? We got Jelly Bean Johnson, Monty Moore. Reeves on it. I got Alex Al from the bassist from This Is It. Michael Jackson's tour, and Herbie Hancock, Stevie Wonder. He's the first call session funk bass player in LA, and he does all kind of jazz. Smooth. It's 99% of this smooth jazz record. Alex.
There's that J word again. There's that J word again. If you have your jazz chops, all the other stuff, it really becomes really. You can keep it on the 2 and 4, but you can move.
Yes, no, I mean playing funk has its own thing.
Right. Oh, I lost your audio. Lost your audio there for a sec.
I said a lot of jazz players have trouble with funk. Funk has its own. Funk is its own reward. You gotta adhere to that too. But
the thing I love about
the more you study different things, the better player you can be. But funk is real specific, and
it's learning a language. It's a rhythmic language. You're learning a rhythmic language.
Everything. To play the genre correctly, you really got to get into it.
The feel.
Yeah.
What I love about your new record is that you don't have to have the 3-minute track. That's the single. You got all right, I'm gonna let this guy rip on guitar for like quick, Pimp Plus, you got moments on there too. Cookies and Cream's great. Like, shit, I'm just gonna let this guy. Okay, you came in here, play that guitar solo. I'm not gonna cut that out. Just play.
Yeah, I didn't do any hardly 3 minutes. I don't think there's a 3 minutes.
There's one where I wish you would have played longer, actually, and that's Lydia's Lydian. Okay, you start fade. You just started to get going. I'm like, no, don't fade it out, man. You're just starting to get going. I want to hear. There's a box set, right? That's going.
8 minutes. Wasn't that an 8-minute song too, though?
Yeah, but I wanted to hear an extra minute. You just, I mean, hey,
Well, we do that live. I go all day long live. We treat it like jazz solos. Like we just go live, and that's another thing with Freak Juice. Every show is going to be a little different because it is so open. Everything is open. Like we have specific arrangements, but within that arrangements, we can either go long, we can go short.
Sure.
So
it's a lot.
No computers here, baby.
You're good about improv. Yep.
We're just we treat it old school. Plug into your rig and let's see what happens tonight. That's
awesome.
That's how I like to keep it. Like I don't think I ever want to be locked in into a computer because trying to sound like the record. I'd rather have example, Jimmy Page played like 13 guitars on one song, but then when he played it live, it was that thing live. It was like something else. And then that's how I look at my thing. The record is one thing. When you come see us live, that's another thing. Both are equally good, and
Man,
a lot of times
you
the
said
live
it.
show is a whole nother dynamic than
They're
the
two
record.
different
So I
things.
don't ever
And that's
want
what people loved about groups like you bring up, like Led Zeppelin.
or yeah, I mean,
Improv. They could improv. You never necessarily heard the same solo twice.
no, and then
Heartbreaker or something like that.
you
You
never,
know?
and you weren't worried about sounding like exactly like that. I think that's why I love the Foo Fighters too. I think he mixes his
Dave Grohl.
he comes from he'll play the record, but he he expounds on his albums either with an intro or whatever. There's not a lot of solos going on, but the
Yeah.
arrangements you can tell are different, and that's what makes a live show a live show. I would never want to be locked into a computer.
Yep.
Like, that is the worst thing I feel like you
Yep.
could do. But that's just me personally. I don't care about. I mean, I'm not hating on anybody that does that, but me personally, I could never do that because
Well, we didn't grow up with laptop, and like a lot of kids today, you know, some of these kids are born with a smartphone in their hand and
Yeah,
a laptop
that's
in their
true.
hand,
And that's what they
that's
know.
what you know.
Yeah, I have a bar too. Like you said, I have a bar too.
I wanted to bring that up. Yes, Juice Makers Lounge,
Yeah.
Sheridan Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You
All
just started. You've been having some live. I've noticed on your Facebook page, you've had some live gigs going on lately.
Yeah,
And
we had Afro Man in there, man, the other night.
I love Afro Man.
And yeah, we got a live blues jam. I got some comedy. I got some burlesque comedy coming
Ooh.
tomorrow. Sexually charged Juanita Sugar Brown, as she calls herself. So I'm excited about that tomorrow.
Hey, listen.
Oh,
Are
Go
you
ahead.
going to have any, like, I know you got March Madness coming up. You're going to have any of the sports up there, people?
Man, we're not a big sports bar. We're more of a live music venue.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, as it should be.
We,
Yep.
we do turn on the game. Like, I'm a huge Laker fan, though. So
I figured the ball didn't never left you there.
Lakers, yeah. I'm a Lakers fan, so I always have but it just depends on what we got. Like Saturday, speaking of Saturday, like
This coming Saturday? Okay.
Yeah, tomorrow we have
as I'm
every
recording.
Saturday we have a blues jam from 4 to 8, and
Ooh, who's going to be on that?
man, I got some hot young kids, man, and this young girl, Katie Dover. When I say young, they're young adults. They're in their 20s,
Yeah.
But they are phenomenal, playing well on beyond their years. And
That's where it starts. You're encouraging these younger people to play the live music. That's the way. It's a grassroots campaign, isn't it?
Oh man, but these guys, they are killing it, and they study the blues, like they play the blues, like
Clarksville, Mississippi blues.
I'm guilty. A lot of guitarists overlook the blues, and I'm guilty of that too. Jelly Bean really nurtured me on this, and I had to go back and these to really play the blues and do those signature idioms and really really play it so people can feel it is an art form. You have and these kids, they do it, man, and they got all the cool licks and idioms of them. They listen to Albert King, BB King. You could tell, and the little girl can sing, man. She's bad.
You might have the next Rosetta Tharpe on your hands. You never know.
Yeah. She sounds great, and so they're there every Saturday, and then we have a funk jam on Mondays, and then we're gonna start doing live music on Thursdays. Unfortunately, we had live music on some Saturdays, and we still do, but Friday and Saturdays we have to go with the hip hop, the trap music, because that's what keeps the club afloat, and the kids love it, and it's a good time. So bring
there's a place for that. Listen, there's a place for every kind of music, and I do not disparage any of that stuff, because we had music. Look, come on, baby, let's do the twist. The twist wasn't, the twist was music. You weren't getting into intricate jazz chords on Chubby Checker.
No, not at all.
Music to have fun with.
Yeah,
that's okay.
On Friday and Saturday, man. So it goes down. So if you're
I wish I could be there.
Rap music, man, it's great. We got some really hot DJs, DJ Big Rich and Wally, man.
Cool.
David Puffin has a Rock the Mic on Wednesday, which is really cool. Now that's a really cool where hip hop artists and singers come in and compete for a prize on Wednesday. So we got kind of like our own Apollo going on.
That's right. Look,
Rock the Mic with David Puffin. So that's really cool.
Nothing wrong with that. You want to encourage all the styles of music, because you might get the one artist like yourself that does a freak juice version of their own, a mélange, as the French like to say, mélange, this mixture of a gumbo, if you will.
Like that
Mélange. Robert Plant, Robert Plant, if you ever hear Robert Plant in a recent interview in like the last 5 years, he always describes his music on his solo albums as a mélange, because he'll take Afro beats from here. He'll take Celtic music from here. I mean, the man's still discovering.
Yeah.
You know, here he is 40 years into his solo career, 40 years since 81, since Zeppelin broke up, and he's still discovering. So that's, to me, when I grow up, I want to be like that, where, you know, at 70 some years old, still finding, you know, hey, I could take walking into Clarksdale, Mississippi, and I could take that and put, you know, the guy that worked with Massive Attack and Portishead and mix it up. What the hell? Why not?
Right.
And you've been in New Orleans, you know how it is. I mean, you know, so you've got something akin to going to like the Spotted Cat or the DBA on Frenchman Street, right? But except that you're doing your own version of that on Sheridan Street in Tulsa. I love it. I love it. Wait, but Tulsa, Oklahoma, right? The cost of living, you know, pretty reasonable, right?
Well, like I said, we were on tour with Morris, and then my buddy Charlie, who I play with in the Trick Tracks band,
right?
In Austin, we ran into each other in a hotel while we were on the road. He goes, "Man, I see you." I think it was MySpace, and you know, when MySpace was around, I see you guys doing your thing out there in LA.
Right?
Man, you got to come to Tulsa. Because it's just like Austin was when we were kids. There's plenty of bars to play in, and I don't know if you guys know anything about LA. But LA is like, you know, when you're doing your original project, like you said, there's pay to play, there's 5 bands a night.
The Strip used to be fun.
$20 a park, $20 a drink. You don't get paid. So I never, just disclaimer, I always thought to myself, I'll never pay anybody to get on stage. I'll play for free in hopes to sell some merchandise, whatever, but I'll never pay you to get on. But anyway, so we used to play the Coke and the Teaser back then. But anyway, so we saw him. And he just convinced me to come to Tulsa. I was like, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I was like, I'm not coming. No. But anyway, we played this Mercury Lounge, and I got in the night before, and we're at the bar, and he goes, you know, Tori, I said, I need a shot of Grey Goose and a beer. He goes, yeah, $5. I said, no, man, I need a Grey Goose shot. He goes, oh, no, it's $5. My eyes open. I was like, okay, drinks for it. Hey, guys, this is on me. Come on. So that was the first good experience. And then the next night we're playing, and every 3 songs, the guy, the owner comes up to me, you know, because he was loving. The house was packed because pretty much a captive audience. People go to their spots, and if the band is good, you know, more people come in and it gets packed. And every 3 songs, what you drinking? What you drink? So this guy, every 3 songs, he was bringing us drinks. And so the band's having a great time.
I'll bet you were.
We were playing our own original music. And afterwards, people were buying CDs and shirts. And then they handed us like $600-700 or whatever it was at the time. And you don't get that in LA. You don't get, you know, you just don't get that we played 2 sets of our own music. We weren't, you know, we were treated like human beings.
What?
Yeah, so I had a great time. I was like, and then at the end of the night, and this, you know, I'll be out, you know, back in the day, you know, I used to put him back, and he goes, Tori, I'm not serving you anymore. It's 2:00. You got to get behind the bar and serve yourself. I was like, I love this town. And so I started, man, and then the cost of living, I started coming here, then I would make an excuse. I was living in Upland. every 6 or 2 months I would come down here and do my band. And come, and kept coming. And my son was off to college, and
Wow.
I was paying for my music gear to be in a studio in LA to do my production, like $1,500. And then every time I would come here, I would go into these houses and these musicians, and these houses were huge, like. And Charles like, Tori, don't do it. Don't you ask them how much they're paying for rent. Because every time I would go,
he saw the light. He saw your eyes.
How much you paying for this? How much you paying for this? So man, so to make a long story short, I ended up moving. I thought to myself, well, I could fly here, have a house with all my music stuff here, and it'd be, and then that started, and then we fell into a bar. We played this bar, Pack It Out, and the owner asked me, hey, you know anybody that wants to buy the bar? I was like, no, but how much you want for it? He goes, for you, Tori, I pretty much give it to you. And then the next thing I know, like I'm in the bar business thinking, I thought to myself, how hard can it be?
Oh.
Selling drinks. Wow, like, oh man. But luckily I have a younger brother that's been in business all his life. And he came influenced.
You gave him a call and said, hey man.
Yeah, I got an opportunity for a bar. What do you think? He goes, and he ran the numbers. He's like, oh yeah, we could never do this anywhere else. So we gave it a shot.
Right.
We're still here 2.5 years later, even through the
2.5, okay.
Yeah, even through the pandemic. We opened up in Christmas 2019.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Now, let me ask you, with Tulsa, Oklahoma, is there any concern about, it just popped in my head, you're in the Midwest, or tornadoes or anything like that? You got to be concerned about that at all? Much?
You got to live your life, man.
Of course, but yeah.
You got earthquakes, and then you got floods.
Yeah.
Earthquakes, and I went through the earthquake in 92 or whatever that was in California, and that was bad. I'm sure Philadelphia has its natural disasters.
The Schuylkill River.
I don't live my life like that. I don't.
No, I hear you.
No,
we just want you to keep stay alive and make the music, man.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying cover yourself in bubble wrap, but we're losing all the traditions, okay? I'm just saying.
I'm going to a shelter if it ever gets close with,
I got you. Hey, as long as you got a basement, we're good.
Thank you, man.
Grab the guitars and run like hell, Speaking of which, you got some guitars behind you there. What do you got? What do you got over there?
I got a bunch of stuff around. I don't think many people have seen books. Excuse me.
You good? Is that a Gretsch?
No, this is actually a Schecter.
You see, you're a Schecter, man. Again, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm gonna start playing this, but yeah, it's probably out of time.
Look at those beautiful frets. Oh, look at those frets.
Yeah, man, this is a bad boy. I want to replace this pickup with more of a jazz box sound. It sounds more of a Stray Cats rockabilly.
Sure.
Which is a good vibe, but I want a jazz pickup here, and I want to keep that pickup.
A little
here.
Brian Setzer action, or his influence, Eddie Cochran. So there you go.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks for that, man. I appreciate that showing us that. Yeah.
Well, I got a bunch of stuff. This is one of my new babies.
Ooh.
I want to give a local guy here some love. This is
Tulsa Guitar Shop.
This guy, Seth Lee Jones, man, built some really quality pieces. He built me this Seth Lee Jones telly, man.
Oh, you didn't do the righty headstock on that one.
Nah.
I know a couple of your Schecters, you got the tuners on the other side.
Before I had the Schecter deal, I saw this in a pawn shop. Not in a pawn shop, in a music store. And then I didn't have the cash at the time, but then I came back and it was gone. And then I ran into, I had met Seth, and then he said, hey man, I got that guitar at the house. And he hooked me up with it, pretty much gave me a great deal on it. And
you like your telly, you like those telly bodies though.
Well, and originally, back in the early days, I was playing a lot of Strats, but then I got the thing, like, you know what, Prince recorded with a telly. I need to get some
the
telly.
Honer. Right.
Yeah, I said those are all on the
Time records.
time records, man. I was
Right.
like, yeah, we got a bunch of stuff all right, but we'll go through the guitar later.
Man.
Yeah, I said, man, I got to start. So when I got with Schecter, I started having them build me all kind of tellies. So,
Hmm.
but now I'm, that strat I want to do a couple of strats. And then I got an 8 and a 7 string.
I was going to ask if you played a 7 string. Yeah. Ooh.
Eight is a little much. I tried to do the 8. That's a little much to me. I was like, and I noticed the cats down are really just dropping down the whole guitar on six strings and dropping them down to like A or C, dropping the whole guitar down to C. So
Right.
I think I want to kind of experiment with that instead of having an extra string. But I do like the 7 though. I like the 7 because you can. I think I'm gonna dial more in the 7 on this next record. Plus, drop some guitars down and just see what happens. And
Man,
just see what happens.
we could. Listen. Guitar people everywhere. This man knows what he's talking about. Okay, and if lefty guitarists out there, if you're just starting out, I don't have a Schecter myself. I have an Epi Les Paul, and which I had to have the strings redone for a righty, so I could play a righty's guitar because I learned upside down.
You can play a right-handed guitar?
Yes, sir.
You can play right-handed, so you're ambidextrous.
No, I play strung righty, but play lefty.
So you mean
The bottom strings be on the bottom, the top strings are on the top.
And so you're like Eric Gales.
Yeah, or Doyle Bramhall or
Yeah.
Hendrix did that too.
Yeah, I never
Albert King. Wasn't Albert King?
Yeah, Albert King. Hendrix played with the
Did he?
bottom.
Okay.
When people say, I was like, no, that's not accurate.
No, I couldn't. But everybody tells me that. I'm like, oh yeah, okay,
All I
whatever.
gotta do is look at the videos, you can see it. It's right there. Yeah.
I know. Listen, the live in Maui footage. If you haven't seen it yet, the live in Maui 1970 footage.
I've seen that.
Man, you got to check it out.
Okay.
Oh, it looks like they digitally restored the. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh my God, it's the tone that he gets. Oh, but I think he does Machine Gun. Oh my God. And you are a tone hound. Folks, go to Rig Rundown, right? And watch. Because that's a half hour by itself, and you go through all your pedals and how you do this and that, and the / wah-wah pedal, which you can get without the distortion. I found
Nice.
you can get that $20 less. You can get it without the distortion on it because you don't need it. You don't use it.
You don't need it.
You got your own.
I mean, that slash, I'll be honest with you, that slash was just something I picked up and I be honest, man. Yeah, I do with gear, it has to sound great for me already. Like I'm not a big tweak to it. If I can get like that the Keeley distortion that I have.
Yeah, you're a Keeley guy, right?
I mean, it's a podcast. Let's talk about it. I was a full tone guy too. That he opened up his mouth with that racist rant he had. I don't know if anybody knows that, but the Guitar Center kicked full tone out of his shop, and I kicked him off my pedal board. So yeah,
I didn't listen.
He went up with this racist rant or whatever about riders or something, and Guitar Center and anybody with it's a shame because he made great pedals, but he didn't atone for it either. So anyway, but
listen.
One door closes, another opens, and these Keeley guys, man, that pedal it blew the flute tone stuff out the water. So I'm like, this was supposed to happen. I turned on this Keeley orange. It's an orange overdrive with a boost. Oh my God, it's everything that I've always been looking for. It has enough drive, but then the boost, the signal out there. That orange Keeley drive, I recommend it for everybody, man. That is the bomb, man. And that thing sounds great right out the box. You ain't got to be in there, trying to get a whole lot of tone.
As a session player, sometimes, do you still do, before the pandemic, were you still doing sessions in between Freak Juice and the time? Somebody would call you up and say, hey.
Yeah, people send me stuff over.
You could do it over, you could file share now and basically send it. But sometimes you don't have a lot of time given to you to come up with a tone, and you want something that you can just out the box and say, okay, oh, great. Now, I know you do some line 6. We're getting into music geek territory. So folks, you're just going to have to deal, because I don't get to talk to a lefty guitarist who knows what the hell they're talking about every single day. So
Right.
you've used the line. I have a Marshall Code 50 and modeling amps have been a big thing. A buddy of mine's lending me his Kemper Profiler right now. And I'm going to tell you right now, I haven't even scratched the surface on that thing. That is a bad boy. Any brown tone you wanted from Van Halen's just right there at your fingertips. And it almost seems like it's not fair, but with profiling amps, you use profiling amps to a certain degree, don't you? Yeah.
Oh man. So here's my thing is like, when I was doing demos, I was doing a guitar rig and some other stuff, and I liked them. It was cool, but I started to figure out like, well, it's not. It's not quite my amp, so I'm starting mic my amp. Man, I got the Fractal FX to an effect, and and right out the box, it was right there with my tones. I did a couple of IRs, and then I started going through it and making a few. And then I was like, I'm not micing my amp. This stuff sounds better. And like I was did the recording. I was like, the fract, because whatever they. They're in these $1 million studios with these, really expensive mics, and they get the IR.
Yeah.
Just the tones, they're incredible. Like the profile, for me, I love that, and the effects on it too are pristine, and that they have that synth sound that I use on Hole in the Wall at the end.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like a synth, but the sounds of this thing. I'm not even a endorser, I love it.
It's all right. Look, what though?
I'm speaking from the heart. This stuff for me, I don't think I'll ever mic another. It's like it's pointless. It's sort of like the for a while when Pro Tools came out and people but it sounds digital, and that's what happened with the profiling stuff. But now technology has caught up to analog recording. And you can't even tell the difference. That's the way that and purists and nerds with the tone might be able to hear a slight difference, but they're not buying your records, are they? And they're not sitting there micing and doing your sessions. And you ain't trying to impress them anyway. You're trying to get a good sounding record, man. So
right.
I don't care about, if that shit sounds good, man, it sounds good. And that's the bottom line.
You're about feel.
About feel, yeah. And like I said, with the rig done, I had to admit I was kind of BSing, because I'll tell you everything you want about harmony on a D7 flat 9 chord and what to play over that. And I'm a big.
Do you mind if we hear one? Can we hear one right now? Can you play on your acoustic?
D7 flat 9 chord?
Please.
Yeah. Look. See how that see how that outlines that? I'll tell you all day about that. But if you
thank you for that. That was beautiful. Love it.
If you tell me how what frequencies is this and this and how what tension is this and on your like the dude said, hey, did you realize that if you do a reverse headstock that your E string is tighter? No, I didn't really know that, but I know that if you could play a tetrachord, some tetrachords over giant steps, you can make that harmony happen. So
see, now let me ask you. So let me
really focus on the how many. Although I do like sounds and pedals and stuff.
Sure.
I don't spend the majority. I spend the majority of the time practicing on what to play, not the sound of it so much. But I do try and get a great sound. But that's not where my focus is.
No, you got it.
You can almost play a shitty sound. If you're playing something great, then that's even better. It's about moving people. Sometimes you can move people with less than perfect tone. It just all depends.
BB King could play one note clean, right? He'd play in a clean amp. He could just play. It's the way that you play it. Sometimes it's not what you're playing. It's
one note. Killed it. Made millions with one note.
Got to see him twice, man. And I'm gonna tell you, once in '94 and once in 2008 when he had to sit down for the majority of his gigs. And I'm telling you, when he got going,
Yeah.
all he had to do, bing, just hold that one note. And
I remember this story about Eric Clapton and Jimmy Page walking in to see Buddy Guy,
mhm.
and then going up to him afterwards, going, "Man, how'd you get that tone?" Buddy said, "Man, my amp was frozen. It's Chicago out here. I just plugged in. That tone, I plugged in straight into the knobs on my amp is frozen, so I couldn't do anything with it. I just plugged straight into it.
Man.
It's not all about something. I mean, that has its place, but really at the end of the day, it's about what you're playing and
Right.
can you move somebody with your playing, not how many milliseconds my delay can go to, or this
Right.
analog chorus is from the 70s and it's gonna fuck all that. You need to be playing
Right.
something first,
Right. Look at, and a classic example of that, Tori, is, of course, what you're doing now, because you go by field, but you've got these technical chops, your music theory and all that. But look at the great loss of Edward Van Halen.
Right.
Okay? You
Right.
got to give that man, he both had the technical thing of making the brown sound and all this and stuff, but at the end of the day, he could play a note, just one note. He could do all this tapping and fingerboard stuff and all. The Cathedral's my favorite. I've said this on interviews, guest interviews before. Cathedral's my favorite thing because he expanded the idea of what a guitar could do. And for him, he could come up with cool tones, but the feel, he came up with the feel.
The feel and innovated how guitar was played. I can remember when that record came out, man. I can remember everybody can when the Running with the Devil came out. That was the first solo you started trying to play, started playing, and then all the tapping stuff, man. You were and that was big, and
got to see him twice. Thank God.
I loved it, man. I mean, I started doing it, and then I quickly stopped when everybody in the world started doing it. I was like, okay,
I get it.
I can't. I can't.
I get it.
I gotta have some kind of.
But I'll bet you could do a little of it though.
I can do a little of it, but it's you really like anything else. You have to work at it to really be good.
Oh, of course.
So I just, but I admire it though. I think what he did with it, and there's some players that really use it musically, So yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, but that's a person who uses effects creatively and still could move you with no effects,
Right.
So I'm not hating on effects by no means.
Oh, I know you're not. I know you're not. But he's a classic example.
That's a great example of how somebody can really
he straddled that line. He straddled that line between technology and feel. I mean, he was
innovative with it for sure.
There's this new kid, and I've plugged this kid. Have you seen this kid, Marcin?
I have not.
19, 20-year-old kid, Marcin, doing a one-man version of Kashmir with the rhythm and like flamenco style.
And flamenco, I have seen that. That is tight. Yeah.
He's got the full version of it out now, though. There was a short version where he just did it.
That's beautiful.
That's what I'm talking about. There's some 20-year-old kid from Poland and he's incorporating flamenco in it though. And the jazz chords that you were talking, the tetrachords are in there too, but he's doing it two-handed tap style. I'm geeking out. Sorry. I just can't.
I saw that, man. That's amazing. Yeah.
My head, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. But see, that's what you're trying to do with your music to give to the people is the goosebumps. It's all about the interaction. And I can't wait until we all get vaccinated. I can't wait for my vaccine. I just want one shot in each arm, be sick as a dog and get out there. I gig too. I have a Zeppelin covers band. I sing in church. I holler for $1 and get a little stir crazy.
I can see you doing all the In the Light and all my solos. You're doing all the rain, not the rain song, but Celebration Day. You're doing all those things.
Shoot. Everybody needs a light. Oh, sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, we can talk off. Look. Well, I want to thank you because we could be here another hour. We're going.
Good, man. Good
I
people,
thank
man.
you so much for your time, folks. Go check out Tory Ruffin, Freak Juice and Friends. Check it out. Go on to hortonrecords.bandcamp.com or freakjuice.bandcamp.com. Am I right? Is that the order? All right.
Bandcamp.com.
You can see Tori.
I'll disperse it.
You can see Tori play. And since we're not seeing gigs right now, you can find Tori playing with Morris Day and the Time. You can see Tori playing in both Coming to America movies. You can see him playing with Fishbone. You can see him. You played with so many people. I'm gonna tell you, dude, this has been a real honor because you're just a chill, soulful guy who just happens to have monster chops and monster tones coming out of that sixth string and those two hands of yours. So thank you. Love to you, man. And much luck with the pandemic, settling itself down and you getting back out there on the road where all musicians belong. That's on right. The road.
Yeah, we miss it, man. And anything you guys can do if you got an extra 99 cents, play the Sarah McLachlan song.
We're not doing Sarah. We're not doing that.
Come on. We need that 99 cent to feed a band of four. Come on, let's get it, y'all.
All right, people, go get this album. Go get They Call Us Juice, Freak Juice. Go get it. Go get it. Go get it.
Right on,
and
guys.
I tell you what, it is not a dirty little. It is not a dirty little secret.
That's right.
It is not a dirty little secret. Go get this album, folks. Go get this album. Peace and hair grease. We'll see you next time. If you like what you heard today, hit like and subscribe. Purple Kurt Podcast. We'll be back. Peace.